What up, friendos? Welcome back. Today, I wasn't going to release a video, but apparently I've been dragged into this one. Kicking and screaming, didn't really have any interest in it, but I feel like I'm going to need to. So I'm chilling, playing some Pal World, you know, not really doing anything, not doing much, and I get tagged in a tweet by OnePeg. OnePeg is a extraction-based, gaming YouTuber. Apparently he's been covering the old Dark and Darker thing, which I have also done. At least now I believe we're on diametrically opposed positions on this one, where I believe that based on the evidence I've seen, Nexon has a good point about what Iron Mace has done. I'm not going to get into all the nuts and bolts of why I think this. I just believe that they've presented, in my brain, the more compelling evidence publicly. Now, the big thing here is whether or not this is true, whether or not, you know, if Iron Mace did steal, if Nexon has a point. We're going to find out eventually because the court is going to see the evidence and they're going to decide. So basically, what's happened today is there's been a W for Iron Mace, at least perception-wise, from people that have not read the actual information. So first, I'll show you the tweets that got me dragged into this, and then we'll go over why I need to make this video and also the real, objective reporting of what's actually happened. So this was the original tweet from OnePeg. LeMayo, I fucking told y'all Nexon America and Nexon Korea had their bullshit case dismissed in both US and Korean court. This is factually untrue, as we're going to get to in a second. This is just objectively didn't happen. And 30 seconds worth of Googling would have shown you that it didn't happen. Iron Mace is free. Hey, at KiraTV, which is my Twitter handle, unfortunately. In case you weren't following Bud, insert the smugness, maybe make a wee vid retracting all that looks like infringement, smiley face. Now, I just want to make it clear, there's no personal beef here, at least on my end. I'm not going to, little bro him and say I didn't know this guy existed, because I was aware his channel existed. I've just never watched any of his videos. I don't think I've ever mentioned him before, and I've certainly never spoken to him or tweeted at him or made him the topic of any videos or anything, because there's no reason to, right? We don't have a beef, at least not on my end. I didn't know this was a thing. And then he posted what Iron Mace has posted to their server. Now, I've gone over this repeatedly, how Iron Mace... the idea that you're going to trust 100% one-to-one what Iron Mace posts in their Discord server during a legal dispute is kind of naive and silly, because they're not going to tell you everything that's going on. One, they don't need to, and two, there's just really no reason. They're going to say what looks good for them because that's what everybody does. Every business does it. Every human does it. It is what it is. So they've said yesterday Nexon's preliminary injunction against Iron Mace for trade secrets and copyright infringement was dismissed. It was. We're going to get to that in a minute. The court ruled that Iron Mace's game cannot be viewed as infringing on Nexon's copyright or trade secrets. We're going to get to this in a minute because that's not what I've been reading. They know better, of course. But I'm going to get to what's being reported in Korean media versus what we've got here. Thus rejecting the claims and suspicions that Dark and Darker was developed by using Nexon's trade secrets and infringing on its copyright. It wasn't. In addition, the court ruled that Dark and Darker service should not be suspended based on Nexon's claims and evidence alone. The court's decision regarding unfair competition is disappointing in that it came from a situation where Nexon did not even submit the P3 game itself as official evidence. There's so much context here, and I don't want to make like a super deep dive of all the small things you need to know for this to even make sense. But basically, there was two injunctions, preliminary injunctions going on during this lawsuit. It was Nexon filed an injunction to basically block Dark and Darker and Iron Mace from operating, full stop. You cannot operate the game. And if this would have gone through, I said at the time that this was brought up. I don't like that this is a thing, and hopefully it doesn't go through. Because then Nexon's going to just win this lawsuit by attrition, right? Whether they're right or wrong, which has always been my point. Regardless of what I believe, regardless if I think Nexon's right, I want it to be proven in a court of law, because that's the way everybody wins, right? Or if Iron Mace is going to win, I want them to prove that they did nothing wrong, because then justice is served. If Nexon wins because Iron Mace can't operate their game and therefore can't earn money to fight the lawsuit, then nobody really wins, because we don't find out whether Nexon just the big bad or whether Iron Mace did anything wrong. It's a lose-lose for everybody. So that's never been my position. So basically, this injunction that was filed, the judge said, no, we're not going to let them. It would be unfair if we stop them operating a game that we've not even decided yet, because a preliminary injunction is not the main lawsuit. It is just that. It's a preliminary step. So we're not going to say that they can't operate business when we've not even decided and gone through a whole lawsuit to see whether or not they've done anything wrong. So we're not going to do it. And on the same side, which doesn't get mentioned here, at least explicitly for people that aren't following along super closely, Iron Mace also filed an injunction that conveniently Wampeg has ignored. I don't know if he knew it existed or not. We'll get into that in a minute. But basically, Iron Mace filed an injunction to say, leave us alone, Nexon. It was the leave us alone, Nexon injunction. And the judge also swatted that one away. So both of these have been dismissed. So it's a W in one column and a W in another column, or maybe two L's that are making one overall W, who knows. And then it talks about the evidence that's been presented, and Nexon didn't put forward P3, which they wouldn't do during a preliminary injunction. And then they go on to say, if sufficient and thorough evidence is investigated in the main lawsuit, the truth about the unfairness of Nexon's claims and the incidents of Iron Mace will be revealed. So Wampeg, we're going to get into his responses to me in a minute, because this is fucking just so stupid. I really don't know why this happened. Wampeg didn't even read this response, and then we'll get into what he said to me. I said, who hurt you, little bro? Because I'm just like, why am I fucking getting dragged into your tweet about something? At this point, I'd not even read what was going on. I just read what he said and was like, okay, they won the preliminary injunction. Like, what does that matter to me? Why am I getting tagged in this? And he said, this somehow doesn't seem like a shocking response from you. This isn't like a oh my feelings tweet. You historically have stood on the side of looks like copyright infringement as the main theme of several videos regarding the case. You were wrong. That's it. Well, I've not been proven wrong yet. And again, I'm just going to explain something for you here. If you don't understand how the law works, which many people don't, myself included fully, even if Nexon lost, that doesn't necessarily mean that Iron Mace didn't do the things that they are claiming that they did. The legal world, especially civil cases, are a fucking zoo. You can literally be right and lose. I'll give you an example. You look at how Valve won lawsuits against them from parents saying your game, CSGO or whatever, sells loot boxes, which are essentially gambling for kids. I think anyone on a common sense level can look at what, CSGO skins being worth money, being gambled with, opening them with a literal slot machine on your screen for money with no barrier for entry for children. I think anyone could say that looks like gambling for kids, right? Because you can sell the things, you lose money, you win money. But the way that Valve won on one of those lawsuits was the parents said, basically, Valve doesn't warn people that this is gambling and therefore kids are gambling without knowing. And Valve's defense essentially said, do you go on the Valve website and read all the posts and updates that they release? And the parents said no. And the judge was just like, well, you lose then, because you just demonstrated that even if they posted a notice saying, gambling bad and we are gambling, you wouldn't have read it. So therefore your kid would have still done it, and therefore case dismissed, peace, bye-bye, you've lost. So the idea that you can just have things go to a legal process and just 100% of the time things come out that the right thing happened, the right judgment, it's fairy tale land. Lawsuits are ridiculously complicated. You can have good points, you can be right, and you can still lose. This is just true across the board. It is what it is. If you look into any form of civil cases, you will see that this is true. So my initial response was, because it does look like, from what they've said, from the evidence I've seen from both sides, it does look like copyright infringement, which we're going to get into in a minute. Maybe not copyright infringement, maybe more the trade secrets issue. Whether or not that was actionable was always a question I asked and raised multiple times, which I have. If a court deemed it isn't, that doesn't necessarily mean Iron Mace was morally correct or did nothing wrong. That's simply not how the law works, my friend. He responded and said, did you read the letter? We've established you didn't, because you said that everything's been dismissed in both territories, US and Korea, which the letter didn't say. So apparently I did read it and you didn't, so it's weird to say that to me. Nexon didn't even submit a copy of P3 into evidence, a $30+ billion company with unlimited assets and a massive legal budget, and you're still pulling the it doesn't necessarily mean. That I'm pulling that because it's true. I tagged you because you were the poster child and we can't read this because all this shit's been deleted. So then I said, you're also misrepresenting what has actually happened, which somehow doesn't seem like, and again, you are going to see that this was deleted in a second, doesn't seem like a shocking response from you. The case is not dismissed. You're literally posting false information. Your haste to own me. You've misled your followers. I think you'd want to, and I went on to say something like, I think you'd want to fact check things before putting it forward and, trying to get one over on people. I don't really remember what I said. And then he deleted it. Because he's wrong, he was wrong. And he said, iMace is free, pumping brakes tweet. iMace still has the rest of the lawsuit to deal with, which will probably take years, but no evidence of P3 being submitted by Nexon Korea means they got shit to stand on, and Dark and Darker will likely be back on Steam soon. If that was the case, the whole case would have been dismissed, but it hasn't been. Saying they've got nothing to stand on, as we're about to see, is a really silly statement. He also, at one point during this conversation, said, because I obviously said the case has not been dismissed, he thought I meant it's not been dismissed because Nexon's going to just, take them to the cleaners and just kick the can down the road for a couple of years, which is not what I was referring to. I was just referring to the fact that there has been no judgment in the actual main legal case, just the injunctions, so he's just talking nonsense. So I just responded and said, don't worry, bro, I preserved the original tweet and responses for you, and I'll make sure to put them in a place that they're viewed in the light they should be. And then obviously he apologized. He said, perfect, I'm glad it provided an adequate content insertion for you. I will say you were right though. I shouldn't have tagged you in the tweet. It was petty and I apologize. Essentially what I said in response is, I wonder, considering you not only did this, you then doubled down and tripled down when you thought you were right, and then when you did 30-second Google searching, realized you were wrong, and now you're apologizing to me after you tripled down on trying to get one over on somebody who is a fucking stranger on the internet. I've never spoken to you. I don't know why you did this. It's really weird. And Big Fry came in and said, what's this animosity about video games? I'm just like, I don't know. I have no fucking idea, to be honest. So now let's go over what's really been said and what's really happening, because I do feel like somebody should do this, because I know in the Dark and Darker community there's probably going to be a lot of fist pumping. And I do think you need to probably pump the brakes on this one, because if what's been reported in the Korean media is true, this is not as much of a W as you thought it was, and this has still got a lot of legs. It's still going to go pretty far. So according to legal community, on the 26th, the 31st Civil Division of the Suwon District Court, Chief Judge Kim Se-yoon, dismissed the preliminary injunction case filed by Nexon against iMace, including prohibition of trade secrets and copyright infringement the day before. Triggered the day before. We go on because none of this is really relevant. On the same day, they also dismissed iMace's application for a temporary injunction against Nexon. According to the ruling, the court ruled that the case should be handled on the merits rather than at a preliminary injunction stage, obviously. The court ruled that there is no need for preservation in injunction lawsuit filed by Nexon against iMace, including prohibition of trade secrets and copyright infringement, but noted, here we go guys, everyone needs to own me, because I have the opinion that I think, maybe there's some validity to what Nexon has said. Here's a fucking Korean court that's seen what evidence that we've also seen in filings and stuff, but apparently I'm a fucking idiot. The court noted it was highly likely that Dark and Darker had illegally stolen the P3 results. Man, that's crazy. So the court said it is difficult to find any discussion of the direction and overall setting of the game, which seems to have been done in the early development stages of the debtor, iMace, or verification of possibilities, etc. And iMace did not participate in the game development process. Quote, a lot of the circumstances that make us suspect that Nexon's achievements were used are also clearly explained, he said. So what this says, if you need me to, read between the lines for you, is the evidence that I've seen and come to the conclusion that Nexon probably does have a point. Again, is it actionable in court? Who knows? Not a fucking lawyer. The judge has also seen the same evidence and went, yeah, you've got a good point there. We are going to go forward and get everything out there, and it's going to run a full trial, and then we're going to decide. But they think, based on this, and there's multiple articles you can go and read that saying the same thing, they think that this has merit and that Nexon does have a point. It does look like there is, what they've said has merit, and that iMace may have done this. So I don't know, man. This is, I don't see where I'm getting owned on Twitter. by somebody I've never spoken to about something that he didn't fucking read. So, however, it was judged that, quote, it is difficult to say that the materials submitted today have sufficiently demonstrated the need to urgently ban the distribution of iMace games through a provisional injunction prior to the judgment on the merits. So what they're saying is, and again, this did come up in another article, I don't know if they mentioned that in this one, they're basically saying, you know, it would be unfair on both sides. It would be unfair with the injunction from iMace to Nexon if they couldn't file DMCAs and stuff like that, which is what the injunction would have stopped. And it would be unfair on iMace's side if Nexon could stop them operating the project so they wouldn't have money to fight the lawsuit. The court has basically been the most fair it possibly fucking could in this circumstance. It just has. This is not really a W on either side, to be honest, other than the court saying, you know, we think Nexon has a point. You know, what we've seen so far, we think they have a point. This is just not the venue to decide it right now, because this was about the injunctions. It's not the main fucking trial. So in addition, regarding the request for injunction filed by iMace, he stated, quote, there is a high possibility that the P3 game and its plans, which are the result of the P3 project, are considered Nexon's achievements created through Nexon's considerable investment or effort. So now, read what the judge just said, the judge presiding over this case. Then read what iMace just said. They're two totally different things. They're literally they are misleading their audience by saying, oh, it's been dismissed. It's written in a very specific way, you'll notice, that they're saying this has been dismissed and, you know, they've said that there's no merit to it. That's not what I'm fucking reading. Unless, again, all these publications, you can go check them yourself, are all lying about what the judge has said. And I've checked 4 or 5 different sources on this. There's 3 open here, and on my other tab, one of the many that are open, there's the whole thing here. As you can see, I've checked the sources here. So unless all these websites are wrong, they're all reporting false information, this is what the judge is saying. And if it is wrong, then I guess that'll come up and we'll report on that as well. Nexon claims that during the development, we all know, like, we don't have to go over this. This is just what Nexon's claiming. This is what Ironmace is claiming. On the other hand, Dark and Darker is a game developed directly by Ironmace from the beginning. No inappropriate trade secrets have been used. So as the court decided to reject Nexon's application, Dark and Darker is expected to be able to operate in Korea until the results of the main lawsuit are announced. On the 4th, the Game Management Committee approved Dark and Darker's rating, not available to minors. As Dark and Darker has been discontinued on Steam, it is currently being serviced on the Champ and Blacksmith platforms. A Nexon official said, "We believe that the ban on Dark and Darker service has been postponed. Since the injunction decision does not mean a final legal judgment, we plan to seek the court's careful review and judgment on trade secrets and copyright in the main lawsuit." An IMAX official declined to comment, saying, "We respect the judicial decision and will tell you as soon as our position is resolved." One Peg has responded, this is the last thing I'm going to go over. So, when he apologized, I said, I wonder whether you would be saying that if you'd not been immediately proven wrong and had to eat shit because of not doing a 30-second Google search. No clue why you did this, man. Really pathetic, honestly. And yeah, I'll need to make content about it if this is the level of objective reporting you're capable of delivering. You didn't just do it, you double and triple down and now only change your tune when you realize you fucked up. Shows all I need to know about your character, my man. Sad really, because I would have been more than happy to have a conversation with you if you had me on your mind and my position. But I guess trying to win internet points over strangers is where you're at. And he just responded and said, okay, serious response time. Admittedly, I stated the case was dismissed, which the PI was, but not the remaining lawsuit. You also didn't report on the other side of the matter that the Iron Mace PI was dismissed also, but obviously you're on the side of, am I right? Am I going to be proven right? And not the side of, let's report what's actually going on, which is my biggest problem with this, is I don't see it as me versus you. I didn't even fucking know this was a beef that was going on. I see it as, I have an opinion of what I believe to have happened based on what I've seen, and I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that what I've seen, what I've took in from this case, I believe this thing. You obviously believe the other side, but it's hard for me to then reconcile that you have come to this conclusion in taking the same objective information when you're doing stuff like this, where you're trying to get one over on me and you're trying to post information before you've even fact-checked it yourself, as we'll go into here. He says, not that you'd believe it or care, but there was another chat going on in Discord DMs with an IMACE rep that made me realize the remaining lawsuit was still ongoing prior to your response tweet, but I digress. It has nothing to do with anything I've said, to be honest. It doesn't matter. You should be checking this yourself if you're going to be reporting on something. Regardless if your stance is to own me, as you put it, I mean, I'm just responding in kind. Obviously, you started this. I know it's a stupid, childish thing to say, but you literally did. Smiley facing me and shit. It's really weird. In a piece of content because of my lack of journalistic integrity, after deleting a tweet that existed for 20 minutes and apologizing to you in a public place, then so be it. It's fine to apologize, but my issue is you could have not done it in the first place, and then would you have apologized if it wasn't for the fact that you were immediately proven wrong? It just, I don't know, man. It doesn't sit right with me because that seems fake as fuck, to be honest. And I don't want to start a whole beef. Like, I don't want my community going in and attacking him. And I just want to respond to you on my platform where I can literally show everything, as opposed to going back and forth on Twitter. Because obviously you deleted the original tweet and we were going to move on from this apparently. But you're the one who decided to start it, and now you're the one deciding you want to move away from it when you're the one who did every step along the way for us to get here. So my character has always been the type of person to admit when they make mistakes. If yours is to them respond in kind the way that you have, then all right, you do you. Yeah. If somebody calls me out on something, I'm going to respond with the evidence. I'm not just going to be like, yeah, man, good job. You tried to fucking wreck me for your Twitter audience. Which, by the way, I've looked at what the Dark and Darker community have said about me. I've seen them in my comments. I've seen them on the Reddit. I've seen them in the Discord. I've had people send me death threats. I've had people fucking harass me and join my Discord server and call me every name under the sun because I have a different opinion on a video game. What's going on a lawsuit, which shouldn't matter. Play the video game you enjoy. Like, who gives a fuck what my opinion is? If you're right and Nexon have no ground to stand on, they'll win. I'll be wrong. I'll look like an idiot, and whatever else. You can just play the game. That's all good. But when you tag me in this, you have to know that you are these people that have been doing this, which you should know if you've covered video games for a long time, that these people do exist, that you're essentially greenlighting here for people to start doing that shit again. Not, directly, but that is going to be the outcome, right? Because that's just how people work. Fans are fucking weird, and the fans of this game already don't like me. I already know that's going to happen. I know if you'd left that tweet up, it was going to happen. I know that there's going to be people talking shit about me in Discord servers and Reddit threads, and people are going to be sliding into my DMs and sending me just unhinged shit for just no reason. And you brought this up apropos of literally nothing. Not just like... It's not even like we had some beef. There was nothing there on my end. So yeah, of course, like, you can apologize after the fact, but that's not my issue. My issue is that you did this to begin with, and then you even had the opportunity to reflect on that, but you repeatedly in multiple tweets came back at me and continued talking shit about somebody you've never spoken to ever. It's just not on, man. It's just really fucking weird. I should have handled it differently, and I didn't. Other than that, I have no idea what exactly you're looking for here, other than to continue to grind away on a subject that should have been done 4 tweets ago. It should have been done ever. It shouldn't have existed, but it did. So there we go. Random internet fucking drama over literally nothing. Just read, man. Just when something comes out, I understand, like, my cats are going absolutely fucking crazy. I understand that you're on one side. I don't think that this is how it should be if you're trying to report things. Maybe you don't call yourself a journalist, but that's what you're doing. If you're trying to report things, report both sides. Like I have done in all my things. I have said my opinion is this, and this is what these people are saying, and why I disagree with it, and blah blah blah. But if you're going to do it, report both sides. Like, don't be speaking to Iron Mace employees for information. Don't be getting information from people that are fucking involved in the thing, that have a reason to mislead you, or like go to actual sources, not the fucking words of the company that are involved in a lawsuit. And don't be calling out content creators for no reason. You could have DM'd me and said, have you seen this? All of this would have been completely avoided. You could have just read the thing. But yeah, there we go, I guess. That's just the random stuff that happens, I guess. I'll go back to, chilling out, enjoying my evening now. But I'm sure this won't be the end of it. I'm sure his audience will clap back or whatever, or, the Dark and Darker fans will tell me I'm lying, or that I can't read, or whatever it's going to be this time. But yeah, thanks for watching as always. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll continue covering the Dark and Darker thing. I fell off the map with it a little bit because I just, stopped making second channel content for a bit, just burned out on whatever else. But I will continue looking into this and posting information. But apparently I do need to do it. Otherwise, you're just going to be getting one side of information. So thanks for watching. See you next time, I guess. Peace.